a feeling that if you watch this video, that you were meant to watch this video. You were meant to be guided to breath work. Hey guys, it's Francisca. Thanks for joining me. I am so excited and stoked to introduce you to Mary Oppermann for today's video. Mary Oppermann is an amazing breathing coach who I met about a year ago. It was the Friday after Thanksgiving, and Mary guided me through an amazing breathing session, one that I've never experienced before, and it was so amazing. I mean, when I tell you guys that I was soaring and flying and I was laying on the floor breathing, I was crying and laughing. I was so connected to my divinity, so connected to my truth, so connected to myself, connected to my father who passed away in 1989, connected to my grandmother who passed away when I was 6 months old, connected to angels and guides, which up until that point, I didn't believe that there were angels and guides around. I was connected to my divinity. I was connected to my love. And Mary, that introduction to Mary and that introduction to that breathing session led me to want to learn how to facilitate conscious connected breathing, which is a breathing technique that I use. Mary, however, uses a different breathing technique called integrative or transformative breathing, but it's also circular and connected. So I'm so excited to introduce you guys to her. I'm just going to read her bio really quickly before she comes on. So Mary is certified through the Yoga Alliance, and she's certified at the ERYT 500 level. Mary has been a teacher of yoga for over 17 years. She's completed advanced teacher trainings in 2004, 2005, 2006, 2009, and she's also trained in breath work. She's a Reiki master, and she loves plain and pure speech. Mary's teaching style combines several traditions to emphasize safety and awareness in every moment, allowing students to take exactly what their bodies, minds, and spirits need from each session. Her heart's mission is to share knowledge about the practices of yoga, meditation, and the recuperative powers of breath, and to help others integrate these practices in their everyday lives in a way that brings us full measure of peace, joy, and vitality. And Mary truly is that. So I'm so excited to introduce you guys to Mary Oppermann. Hi, Mary. How are you doing today?
Hi. Awesome.
That's good to hear. So I actually wanted to interview you a few months ago. I've been wanting to interview you for a few months, and our last breathing session, I, said, okay, let's just go ahead and ask her. So I went ahead and asked you, and I'm so glad that you said yes. But I'd love to go back to your breathing journey and what brought you into breath work, and how long have you been facilitating this amazing breathing technique?
Well, first of all, I've been breathing my whole life, so that's a good thing. I've been really passionate about breath. I'm a yoga teacher of over 20 years, and that was one of the first things that really caught my attention. And I've been teaching pranayama or yogic breathing for about that long, and teaching integrative breath, this breathing modality that I'm so passionate about, for about 10 or 11 years. And a friend of mine 11 or so years ago said, hey, come to this breath thing with me. Let's just see what it's all about. And I was pretty, cocky. Oh, yeah, well, I know all there is to know about the breath because I'm teaching pranayama, whatever. And so she dragged me to this breathing session, and that was my introduction to integrative breath, or the breath modality that I focus mainly on now. Was life changing for me. I knew in that instant, I've got to learn this, I've got to teach it, I've got to share it with as many people as I can. And so the next day I went and scheduled a private breath session with the guy who led the session, who would end up being my teacher in this. And that just expanded it even further. So for the next 4 or 5 years, I devoted most of my time in learning this and practicing it and sharing it. And I found that the more I did this, it sounds a little trite, but the more I breathed, like we're not breathing now, but the more I did this, the easier life got for me. I was able to relax into the flow of my life. And girl, I was the queen of worry. If I didn't have something to worry about, I would look for something to worry about. And I found I was able to just relax. And the things that bugged me and bothered me so much didn't so much anymore. My relationships began to change, not because they changed, but because I was seeing it through a different lens, which just really takes the pressure off a little bit. And so I began playing more with my teacher and sharing it. And here I am 10, 11 years later in the midst of a pandemic and having a lot of resistance to sharing this work virtually because I'm a really touchy-feely teacher, hands-on. And then I got a signal from the universe, girl, there is a world out there who is struggling to breathe, and you are the one on this topic, so get out there and do it. And now I, instead of in-person breath sessions, I'm doing virtual sessions, group sessions every couple of weeks, and then private sessions. And it's beautiful. It's working out amazingly well.
Yeah, it's so amazing when the universe just drops those bombs on you. And I love how you were synchronistically led to breath work. I think almost everybody I talk to says that too. Like they were, they're like, I know how to breathe. I've been breathing my whole life, like you said, and it's so amazing because I think what most people think when they hear breath work is like, oh, well, I don't have to do, I don't have to work at, breathing. And especially people who have, done pranayamic breath, yogic breath. It's, it's so different when you do this integrative, transformative breathing. It just, like you said, it's life changing. I can definitely attest to it changing my life. And like you said, like the next day you booked a session, it is so powerful and so transformative. And, making the adaptations that you've had to make, like you said, you're such a touchy-feely person that you want to be there to help guide people through their breathing space. And I agree. I think that a lot of people would think the same too. And like, why would I do something over Zoom, or why would I take an online breathing class? It's dumb. I do it all day. But, when you allow your breath to guide you and let it flow as, this amazing breathwork technique helps you follow your breath and guide you. It makes life so much easier, and things, like you said, it was so amazing that you said that things change for you, and not because others changed, but because you changed, you took that action. I'm wondering what you think is the reason that breath work does that. Why is breath work so powerful, especially the breath work that you teach, you help people guide through so amazingly, by the way, whether it's online or in person? What does breath work do? Why is it so powerful?
Yeah, and what you said, what I hear a lot is, well, I'm breathing, why do I need a coach? And the reason it is so powerful is because we were born with a full, complete breath, and then over the course of our lives, we forget that full, complete, vibrant breath. When we watch little kids breathe or animals breathe, their breath is really expansive. They're remembering the breath they were born with, and we kind of forget along the way, the stuff of life begins to fall into our river of breath, our stream of free-flowing breath. And that stuff of life, the guilt, shame, anger, grief, all the stuff that life brings us, will have an effect on how we breathe. And I tell my students, how you live is how you breathe, and how you breathe is how you live. Meaning, how we breathe both influences and reflects the state of our body, our nervous system, our organs, our glands. Every breath we take, our body cues off every single breath that we take. And this is something we may or may not realize, or for sure have forgotten. If we have anything going on in our body, any tension stored in our body is a map, and our breath is a map to what's going on with that. For example, our shoulders are about our burdens. If we have a lot of tension in our shoulders, we may feel we're carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders. And in a breath session, when we hone in on where the body is telling us to go, not that we breathe up in our shoulders, but when I do a breath translation and see where a breath is flowing in someone's body, that gives me a map, and it gives them a map of, okay, what's happening in me. And we usually don't think of it that way. We just know we've got tension in our body and we're feeling tired and our shoulders hurt. But our breath and our body is a beautiful map to where we can shift stuff that we've forgotten that we're holding on to, these patterns in life over time. And they're really sneaky. They're really sneaky patterns. They'll sneak in there when we're not even realizing it. And then we wake up one day and we're breathing very shallowly. We're very lethargic. We have fuzzy brain. It's because we're not getting enough life source, prana, oxygen, whatever you want to call it. The Latin word for breath is spiritus. We're not getting enough life spirit in our body, and it will show up in various ways.
That's so amazing. You just dropped like nuggets of wisdom all over the place. I don't know if you know that, like just when you talk, you drop so much wisdom and so much inspiration. So one of the things that I wanted to highlight that you just said was that babies and animals remember their breath, remember the breath that they were born with. That's just such an amazing thing to think about, that animals just don't have to worry, and babies don't have to worry about, like going back, because they got lost and disconnected from their breath. They don't have to worry about trying to map, where their feelings are and map where that tension is. Another thing that you said that was so amazing was, that our body and a breath is a map to who we are, a map to our feelings, our map to, where we're holding that tension. And then you just talked about how the shoulders are, can hold that, can symbolize the burden that we're holding, carrying the weight of things. One of the things that I find so interesting about the way that you teach breath work and the way that you guide people through breath work is that you do also connect it to the body, and how you breathe is how you live, and where you're holding that tension in your body, where the breath is resisting going, really tells a story of how you're living your life. I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about body language and sacred body language, and just how that affects us in the way we breathe and how we store tension in our body, and how you even came about to learn about sacred body language. It's so interesting.
Yes, I first was introduced to this kind of body language about 2.5 years ago, when I was doing some consciousness work, and how our body expresses itself. Our body is it's a manifestation of our subconscious mind. And that's why things that happen in our subconscious and our mental emotional world have got to show themselves at some point in some way. And our physical manifestation, our body, is where it manifests. And certain parts of our body, I'll give you an example of how it pertains to breath. Our inhale is all about our ability to take in and to receive all that we deserve. And our exhale is about our expression or about our letting go. And it makes sense if you'll just kind of sit there for a minute and think, taking in and receiving and expressing and letting go. It makes perfect sense because our body is so divinely intelligent and intuitive. So when I do a breath translation, I will look for where someone's breath is in their body and where it may not be. And yeah, we breathe through our lungs, and our lungs go down about, near our upper ribs, but it shows up other places. For example, if I see someone with not a lot of movement in their belly, our belly represents in energetically our first and second chakras, our purpose for being here on this earth, our security, our creativity. And when I don't see a lot of movement there, the body cues, I may be a little ungrounded or insecure in my place in this world. The body will tell you. If someone doesn't have a lot of movement in their chest, this is our heart space, our heart center, and chances are they may be guarding their heart due to some hurt or insecurity or whatever. Our breath is going to move in our body in a certain way, and when we don't see that movement, it's a map, it's a key to, there's something here that may require some shifting. There's so much to body language. Our left side is about our female, intuitive, receiving, creative side. And this is not just body language. This goes back thousands and thousands of years in energetic work. Our right side is our male, expressive, outgoing, solar side. So our left is the cool, intuitive. Our right is the hot, expressive. And so even in body language, if you hone it down, I'll use the shoulders again for an example. If our left shoulder, we're feeling tension or tightness, it may be about something in our ability to receive for ourselves. We have a burden, shoulders are burdens, about receiving for ourselves. If it's, and shoulders also, there's a lot here and I could talk forever, but shoulders are also about judgment, anger, resentment towards ourselves. So our left shoulder, judgment, anger, resentment towards ourselves. Our right shoulder, judgment, anger, resentment towards others. So ourselves, others, receiving, expressing, female, male. Or a right shoulder, we may have something going on with a male person in our life that's creating a burden. So there's a lot of stuff there. A lot of, it's a smorgasbord of things to choose from.
It is. And by the way, I could hear you talk all day. I could, so I mean, and then there is so much, when I started learning Reiki, I started learning about the chakras and, or chakras in Texas, we call them chakras. I started learning about that and how different parts of the body, speak to us in different ways. And then when I started learning yoga, I'm like, okay, body. And so it was through my learning of Reiki, through the learning of yoga, that I, because I could tell when I do Reiki on somebody, if somebody's got, some issues with, security or financial receiving, and the left side being the feminine, or, the receiving and the nurturing part of you. And then the right side being the masculine, the doing, the action, the always going kind of deal. And so it's so amazing how you translate that in breath work too, because then you can see, especially in a personal session, see where the breath is going and where it's not going, and how that can affect somebody's life. And just by sending the breath there, it's so powerful to just send the breath to that area and to allow yourself to feel and to see where your breath takes you, because like you said, it's a roadmap to your body. And it's so amazing how you, after, so many sessions with so many people, have been able to just use your intuition as well, because you've done this work with so many people. And I think anybody who's done this breath work with you, I can't speak for everybody, but I can speak for myself. Anybody who's done this breath work with you will just know the power of just sending their breath to a certain area. It's so amazing that you can guide people through that in a safe way, in a way that feels, that you're nurturing yourself and that you're receiving this divine guidance, because it's so powerful, right? When you use a tool that you have inside of you, that you don't access all the time, which is your breath, to help guide you through and help feel those feelings that you're not used to feeling, and feel those things in your body, and access this divine guidance and wisdom that is who you are. Remembering the truth of who you are. And that's one of the things that you've said in the first time that we did our breathing session. Remember the truth of who you are, and it's just so amazing. It's stuck with me for this whole time. And it's so amazing to hear you, say how you can tell where somebody's tension is or what they're holding on to. When you're doing breath work, it makes me wonder, when you're doing breath work with clients, over Zoom and over, online, I know that you said earlier that, that's changed for you, how you, can't, physically be there and guide somebody through. I know that you ask people to turn their video on so you can see their stomach and things like that. How does that change the dynamic for you when you're guiding somebody through breath work? And how do you just keep it so powerful still? Because it is still powerful, whether you do it in person or on Zoom. But can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, it is powerful. And what happened when I shift from in-person breath sessions to virtual, for the time being, I'll be back. I'll be back right in your face.
I love it. I love it.
I'll be honest, I had a lot of resistance to it. How on earth is this going to work? And then when I finally got over my resistance, got over myself, I remembered that energy transcends time and space. It transcends physical touch. And the beauty of a virtual breath session is that you do the facilitation. It's a lot of self-facilitation. My hands aren't on you, but your hands are. And sometimes our hands have a lot of healing power in them. So we do a lot of self-facilitation, and I'm just the hired help. I'm just letting divine speak through me. And I can do that over a computer. Spirit's doing the work. I'm just facilitating it. And so in a virtual breath session, I may guide you to place your hands on your belly or on your collarbones or on your heart or on your ribs or wherever, because it is very intuitive work. And I can even read someone's energy connected through the computer. It may sound a little weird, but when you allow yourself to open to that concept, it's super easy to do, and it's really cool. I have felt comfortable doing a breath session in a group now are loving it because they feel they can do it in the security of their own home, or someone who's on the other side of the world can hop on. So there's a lot of beautiful things that have come out of doing virtual breath work. I do a lot of private sessions, virtually breath sessions, which is really a lot of fun because we can get into specifics of what's happening and what's going on in their body. And I can do a breath translation over the computer. As you said, I have people set their screens up to where I see them from your hip crease up to about your chin, because that's where I'm looking to see where breath is moving in the body. And it not only can I see it and speak what I see to you, you're feeling it, because I'll ask you, I'm feeling that you may be a little closed in your heart. Breathe. Do you feel that? And they'll go, oh yeah, I feel some resistance there. Or I'll ask a question, or do you feel sometimes overwhelmed? Well, yeah, I'm really stressed out about blah, 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 blah. Well, feel that in your belly, and they'll go, oh, yeah. And I'll just cue them to either bend their knees and, like you said, take your breath where it has yet to go in that session.
That's so amazing. That's so amazing. And I can definitely attest to that. Yes, whenever you guide us to put our hands in a certain spot on our body, it's so intuitive and it's so powerful, because we also forget that touch is really important and that we can touch ourselves and love ourselves too. We forget these tools. Babies and animals don't forget that they have these tools that they're born with, but we, along the way of life, have these things happen to us, and think life, and so we forget that we can touch and activate different parts of our body. One of the favorite things that you had us do in our last breathwork session is to bring our hands to our chest and bring the inhale all the way up, and then let it go, and then let it go. That part about letting the breath go, about releasing, about that being the expression. The body keeps the score. Bessel van der Kolk, he wrote that the exhales, he studied this. And so this is not just, like woo-woo stuff, even though I love the woo-woo. There's also a lot of logic that goes behind this. This breathing techniques have been done for thousands and thousands of years, from the Mesoamericans to, people in India. It's just been done for so long because people understand how powerful and how amazing this is. And even over virtual session, you can feel somebody's energy. You can definitely pick up on what somebody's doing. I also know that too, when I guide people through sessions, you can see what they're feeling. You can see, because you open yourself up to that. And once you're open to it and you say, hey, I'm open to this, universe, God, source, whatever it is that you want to call it, will definitely say yes to you. I've experienced it so many times, and I'm sure you in your life have experienced that too. But the exhales is what allow us, to let go of stuff. And then the inhales let us receive. And so when you guide somebody to put their hands in a certain spot on their hips for grounding, on their solar plexus to receive that power, and to take control of their power, on their heart to receive love and harmony and wisdom, on their throat so that they can express through that throat chakra, when they breathe all the way up through their crown so they can connect with their divinity. It's so amazing that you have that intuition and can guide people through a virtual session. I think that you are an amazing woman. I think that anybody who watches this is going to pick up so much inspiration and wisdom from it. And I want to ask you if there is any advice you have for somebody who might be scared or not, sure if they want to do this integrative, transformative, amazing breathing technique that you can help guide people through. What would you say to somebody who's just a beginner or who isn't sure, maybe on the fence about trying this type of breathing technique?
The first thing is you can't get it wrong. We were born breathing. We know how to breathe. There's some things that we can do to enhance our experience. But what I see a lot is people, am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? You can't get it wrong. Breathing is innate to our existence. It is our most intimate companion. It's the first thing we do when we come into this world. It's the last thing we do when we check out. So there's no right or wrong. There's just an awareness and a remembering of our full, complete, connected breath. And that's what integrative breath is. It's a deep inhale, a relaxed exhale, and it's rinse and repeat. Inhale, deep inhale, relaxed exhale with no pauses. It's a connected breath. There's the key, because that connectedness is what, and especially now, is what some of us are kind of feeling a little disconnected. It's going to show up in our breath for sure. We may take a deep inhale and exhale, and it may be 30 minutes before we breathe in again. That's what I'm talking about, a disconnect. We've forgotten, our body's not going to let us do that for very long, because our breath is part of our autonomic nervous system. Thank goodness when we go to sleep at night, we don't have to say, okay, I got to remember to breathe. It's going to happen. But when we can shift this stuck stuff to where we can return to the breath we were born with, that's where we embody the truth of who we are. We were created for ease. And it's a really simple question when you can ask, do I feel ease in my body right now? It's a pretty straightforward yes or no, because and this breath returns you to that ease. And that's all about our letting go of our exhale, is that ease returning.
Letting go of the exhale is the ease return. I love that. That is so amazing. And, the way that, we don't connect our breath. And that's what also makes this breath work so powerful, right? That we're connecting and that we're breathing in a circular, connected breathing. And we're not waiting for the inhale. We're not waiting for the exhale. We're not waiting for anything. There's nothing to wait for, because we are the receivers, we are the creators, we are the divine inspired light that, you don't have to wait for that, because you are that, you have that is you. And I think that's one of the reasons that it's so powerful, because that's what I felt when I did my first breathing session. I was like, I don't have to wait for anything. This is what I am, and it's so amazing, because the connection that happens when you're doing that breath and not having to wait and just it's so amazing. And, relax, powerful inhale, relaxed exhale, because relaxing and letting go of the results, relaxing and letting go and not having to worry about when it's going to come, because it's not going to run out. And I think that that's something that we feel a lot of the time, is that things are going to run out and we're scared.
Yeah, that feeling of lack or poverty mindset. But like I said, our body is so intelligent and divinely ordered. Within the rhythm and the structure of every breath, there's encoded a language of energy, of spirit, that our body gets, our body understands. And that's when we first do this work, we may experience some things in our body that's like, what? Because our brain is going, could you give me some oxygen right now? That would be much appreciated. And when we start really breathing big, our body responds with so much appreciation.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people experience their body in appreciation is massive ease, a lot of relaxation, a lot of mental clarity. That's our body responding to the breath, saying, oh, that problem I couldn't figure out, I got the answer after I breathed. Or, man, I came into this session feeling so tense, but right now I am super chill. That's our body in appreciation of our beautiful breath.
So amazing and so true. It's so, at the very least, you'll be relaxed at the end of a breathing session. I've kind of already touched on some of the things that I've experienced, but throughout your experience guiding people through this amazing breathing technique, what have you noticed? I guess, what are the things that people mostly will feel after, during, before, I guess not before, but during and after a breathing session?
During a breathing session, I try not to tell people you're going to feel this and this and this, because it's not my session. Like I said, I'm the hired help. But generally, you may feel a little dry mouth because we're breathing in and out of our mouth, and that's normal. So you just kind of swallow and moisten and go back to open mouth breathing. Sometimes we might feel a little bit lightheaded. That's because our brain is finally getting the oxygen that it requires. Our brain is the one organ that requires the most oxygen, but usually gets the least. So there may be a little bit of lightheadedness as you flood your brain and your body with fresh oxygenated blood. And this is just physiological stuff. It's, biomechanics. Energetically, when we start moving spirit and energy through our body, it's going to bump up against some of that stuck stuff. And we may feel a little bit of tingling in our hands, our feet, anywhere. That's awesome, because that's energy moving, shifting. Sometimes people feel cold, hot. It's just a function of energy moving in our body. And emotions may come up, which is awesome, because I tell people, better out than in. That is our body responding to the release that it requires. And that's why the exhale is so important, to facilitate that letting go and that release. Because a lot of us may be coming into a session holding on to a lot of stuff. And it feels, in a breath session, it feels really safe and secure to allow an emotion to come up. And my biggest intention is that everyone who does this feel massive ease and security.
Massive ease and security. I think that I have felt massive ease and security every time I've done a breathing session with you, and so much more. All of the things that you described, the tingling, emotions coming up that I wasn't sure, didn't know that I was holding on to, things like that. Sometimes it's even inexplicable what I felt, especially that first breathing session. I can't always put it into words, but I think I've done a pretty good job of describing how that felt. I think I guess one last question that I have for you before you got to go, because I know you've got stuff to do. But what is one thing that you would tell somebody about integrative breathing that maybe we didn't cover today? I know we talked about massive ease and how the body just really gets flooded with this oxygen during the integrative breathing session, and how you can tell what somebody's holding on to and how you can guide them into this ease. What is, I guess, the one thing that maybe we didn't cover today that you'd like for people to know about integrative breathing?
We touched a little on, we have three parts to us: our physical, our mental, emotional, and our spiritual selves. And most of us get the physical because we're clunking around all day in these physical bodies, and we kind of get mental, emotional stuff. But the spiritual piece of us sometimes gets lost. We lose, and that spiritual piece is what you referred to as the truth of who we are. And the best way to describe in human words the truth of who we are is pure love, pure bliss, pure peace, pure joy. And integrative breath is the remembering of that state of being. And at the end of a session, you go through the physical. Okay, I'm relaxing myself, I'm getting a lot of oxygen in, a few emotions may come up. But where the rubber meets the road is where you connect to the truth of who you are. And I've been doing this for a long time. And I've been teaching yoga and a lot of other modalities for a very long time. But for me, this breath modality connects me to source immediately. And it may take a little bit of practice, and we may have some resistance, and even some days I may have some resistance. But of every other thing that I've played with, this work connects me to the truth of who I am, to my source. It's a remembering, and it's instant. It doesn't require a lot of work or a lot of equipment or years of therapy. And I'm not knocking any of that because I've done all of that. It's a tool that we carry around with us 24/7. And when I lay down to breathe for myself, I breathe myself. Things may come up for me where I think, oh, I thought I dealt with that. All of this time, I thought I dealt with that. And yet here comes another little piece. And that's awesome, because as we move upscale in consciousness, you can tell I'm not very passionate about this. As we move upscale in consciousness, and that's what you're doing when you breathe, you are raising your vibration exponentially. Yeah. And that means you're moving upscale in consciousness. And when you do that, you can see me, I'm making an upward spiral movement. And as you move upscale, you may touch things more than once, which is great, because every time you touch it, it's at a more ethereal, lighter, clearer level. I hope that answered your question, but there's a lot.
Yeah, no, there's so much. I could talk to you for hours. I mean, and we do talk for a long time when we get on the phone and we start, talking about stuff. But This is so amazing because you're uncovering the truth of who you are. I mean, you're just taking these layers apart so you can be lighter. And then when you go back to look at this situation that happened maybe years ago that you thought that you dealt with, maybe in therapy, maybe in a breathing session even, you're looking at it from this lighter, different perspective. And, it's a lot more love each time, and it's so amazing because you're so close to the love that you are, and you're so close to who you are as a person. I just wish that everybody could do at least one breathing session with you once in their lives. But how would people find you? I know that you have a newsletter and I know that you have a website, but can you tell people how to find you and how they can possibly get on one of your amazing breathing sessions?
Absolutely. My website is sankalpa.space. It's SANKALPA.space. And the word sankalpa means my intentions have great, massive organizing power. So that's kind of why I chose that word. You can find out more about integrative breath on my website. Every couple of weeks, I do a group breath session. My next one is Monday night, the 23rd of November. And through my website, you can get on my mailing list if you want to receive more information. You can schedule a private breath session, or you can call me and we'll just talk about it.
I love it. I love it. I highly recommend you to almost everybody I talk to who I feel is open to it. And so it's so amazing that you guide people through this amazing integrative breathing and help them get closer to who they really are. And it is such an amazing gift to have you on today. And I was so happy that you were able to come on and Sankalpa space, because you need the space too. Sankalpa.space. Yeah. I love it. Well, Mary, it was great talking to you. And I am so looking forward to our next breathing session. And if you guys want to log on to Mary's website, I'll keep a link in the description box below. So that was a breath of fresh air. Pun is certainly intended there. Mary is an amazing breath coach, and if you want to connect with her, click on the links in the description box below to connect with Mary, get on her newsletter, or sign up for her virtual group classes or her virtual individual classes. She'll definitely guide you back to your divinity, guide you back to the truth of who you really are. And as always, if you enjoyed this video and know somebody that may enjoy this video, please go ahead and share it with them. I have a feeling that if you watch this video, that you are meant to do breath work. You are meant to watch this video. And as always, like, comment, or subscribe. Let me know if there's anything that resonated in this video for you. And if you want to hear more from me, subscribe to my newsletter where you'll have me in your inbox every Friday morning with one card tarot readings, tips and tricks on breathwork and yoga and meditation and all the other cool stuff I'm doing. That's it for today. Till next time. Bye.